So I'm not done with this, but I do want to remove the tape. Some of that edge carried over, and it's a little distracting from what the composition will actually look like. I want to get a feel for where it's at now before I go into kind of this middle stage with it. I did a couple different things here than I've done before, and they were little different things, but just changing up one little approach at some point in a stage or a process can take an idea that you've revisited many times and give it new life. And cells are one of those things for me that I always kind of come back to. These sort of abstract imaginary cells, kind of mandala-like in my mind anyway. Little life things. I actually really like that. Alright, so now I'm going to do some finishing touches. Alright, so detail work is what's next. And I love the neutral brownish tone, but I'm also bringing some neutral gray. It's almost the exact same value as. I'm going to darken it a bit. Of course, I just mixed two mediums that don't always mix nicely, which are the golden high flows and the Daler Rowney inks. They resist each other just a little bit, which can make really interesting effects. But it's not always what you want either. So I both love and hate this part. I love how it slows me down. It's also a little nerve-wracking because you can make, especially when you're doing detail work, you can make little mistakes you don't anticipate or little marks you don't anticipate, and then you have to work with them. And that can be good. They can be an invitation, a happy accident kind of thing. But other times they kind of change things in a way you didn't intend. If you're like me and you're using a brush that's got a splayed little end, it doesn't always help. And doing smaller work is harder than doing big work, I believe. At least for me. When you do big work, multiple marks can create an effect. And they don't have to be so precise. You're doing little work, things have to be very precise. At least it sure can feel that way. And yet, the little details are sometimes the coolest. I'm liking that now that I'm getting further along with it. Subtle little effects at this point on these type of paintings for me. And I can just shift things in interesting ways. Make it feel more finished, more considered. One of the big things I notice with people is they maybe don't feel satisfied with their work. And a lot of the times it's because they've kind of left it in what's really a middle stage, thinking that it's done. And you get a feel for this. But if you're visually feeling not satisfied, then maybe it's not actually complete. So maybe what is actually complete is what you could see so far, right? But now what you're being asked to do is to kind of work in service to what the painting or the piece has become of its own accord. Are you willing to stay in relationship with it? And sometimes the answer is no, and that's fine. That's part of it. But sometimes we want to stay with it and see where it takes us. What that devotion of care and taking the time to be with it can lead to. A lot of times it leads to us stepping away and looking and seeing in front of us a piece that we didn't know we could create. Even if it's not perfect. It took us further than we thought we could do, or surprised us in some way, or gave us some little inspiration or point of interest to carry forward with us. But we don't get that if we leave too soon. So that's why I off and on will emphasize staying with the piece And the beauty of a creative practice that is something like a meditation practice or a contemplative practice, because a lot of that is about the practice of staying with something, staying present to the process. Not trying to change your feelings or judgments, but not letting them stop you from being present and loving. That's how I like to think of it, loving toward what the piece might want or need to be its own entity, separate from maybe even the ideas you started with when you began. And I do it too. I leave a lot of pieces and don't come back to them. I don't necessarily finish everything I make at all. But do let yourself finish and stay with some of them. Deepen the relationship. Take the risks, do the thing that you're not sure how it'll go, and maybe you'll even, ruin the whole piece or something just by trying the thing that it seems to need next. That's okay. That's an opportunity to learn something that you then carry forward with you into the next painting. All right. Yeah, I'm liking that touch of deep gray. It's not what I thought I would do at first, but it has an interesting pop to those little green tendrils. Okay, so it is still a little wet in a couple of spots, but I think this one's pretty close to done. I'm going to redo that edge just a little bit. Okay, did the final touches on the edge. I think I'm pretty pleased with where it's at, so yeah, there it is.